I want to address this idea that somehow the confusion as to whether this was mostly a planned attack with some ad hoc help or an ad hoc demonstration with terrorists coming in or somewhere along that spectrum is somehow part of some intentional effort to mislead the American public for political reasons. If you take the view that this was a carefully planned attack, you would come away with the view that there are terrorists organized in Benghazi, something we all knew to be true before and after the Benghazi attack. If you take the position that there were people off the streets who were angry at us and willing to take violent action against us, then you would say our public diplomacy efforts in the Middle East have not been entirely successful, and there are hundreds of thousands of people with great anger toward the United States. I know of no political plan, nor could I conceive of one that would ever be successful in trying to convince the American people that either of these problems weren't there, that our policy in the Middle East had been so successful that either all organized terrorist groups had been eliminated or that all public anger against America had been eliminated. Mr. Kortz, are you aware of any evidence of an intentional effort to mislead the American people about what happened in those terrible hours in Benghazi?
Congressman, GAO's work did not address that issue. I'm not in a position to answer that.
I understand. Focusing on future security measures, what types of lessons do you think will emerge from this current attack? Will those who mean us harm learn lessons as to how to attack us? And as a result of, I realize what is an incomplete review of what happened in Benghazi, what else should we be doing, either with the physical facilities, the decision on where to have our diplomats, or the number of security personnel to have, or the number or the types of weapons that they should have with them on a regular basis?
Thank you, Congressman. I think it's still too early to know exactly what lessons are to be drawn from Benghazi with respect for example, whether it's a risk assessment issue, whether it's a capabilities issue, whether it's an information sharing issue. We just don't know yet. But GAO does stand ready to assist, as I said, the Congress in pursuing those issues going forward.
We have a foreign service that is in dangerous places today. We as a country need to decide how much danger to expose our people to. We can never have them entirely safe in places like Benghazi, under where, you know, with an American flag on top of the building. I'd ask your comment, but it's really more a decision for this committee to determine the extent to which we put our ambassadors and other foreign service personnel at risk, and evaluate what the benefits are of having somebody today in Yemen. What are the difficulties of not having somebody in Damascus? And when is it worth having somebody in Benghazi? I don't know, Mr. Kortz, whether you have any comment or insight on that.
I would agree first that there's no way that our diplomats will ever be at zero risk. As long as the United States seeks to engage foreign governments and further U.S. Foreign policy interests abroad, our diplomats will inherently be at risk. And as we saw with al-Qaeda linked attacks at Nairobi and Dar es Salaam, and more recently, obviously, with the attacks in Libya, those who would seek to do harm to Americans have plenty of targets to choose from. But to mitigate that, the state needs to have the capabilities in place to address those threats. And as I mentioned, we found in our work that there are a number of areas where those capabilities, frankly, were not where they should be.
I'd just say that we really have to rely on the host government to a great extent, especially from an organized attack. And I don't know whether if we had had 3 or 4 more people on the ground, whether we would be talking about no American casualties or 8 American casualties. And I yield back.
Thank you very much. Mr. Burton of Indiana is recognized.